Welcome back to another episode of the Marketing Quacks podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Dozer, and if you're new to the show, the mission here is to expose the quacks and gimmicks in the marketing industry while featuring some great marketers and entrepreneurs along the way. On this episode, I'm excited to welcome our guest, Connor Young. Connor Young is the owner and founder of Oakmont Creative based in Des Moines, Iowa. He's also a UGC content creator. Connor, thanks so much for joining the show.
Thanks, Ryan. Pleasure having me. It's been a long time coming for me to get on this podcast, so I'm ready to rock
Yeah, I've
and
been
roll.
bugging you for quite a bit to get on, man. I like your
Yeah,
story. I just like connecting with fellow marketers, entrepreneurs here locally. So I just like to hear what you have to say and bounce ideas off each other. So for those who don't know who you are, let's dive in and do a quick intro on who you are and what you do.
yeah, sounds good. Connor Young, born and raised in Iowa, small town, Bloomfield in southeast Iowa. Uh, Not much to do, so in a small town, so sports was one thing. Um, Grew up also with an artistic background, so that's, I guess, stems into, I guess, the marketing aspect of as it as well. Went to college, didn't really know what I wanted to do, just more so just want to continue playing sports. So went to 2-year community college, Iowa Western, played football, ran track, then ended up transferring over to Iowa State. In college, I think my first year I was going originally for like sports medicine, and then after my year there, I was just I think it was more of like a money thing of like how can I make money within this industry. So then that's kind of when I switched to business, and marketing was just something that I picked up on, um, and it just kind of came natural to me. So that's kind of how I got into the whole marketing aspect and that world of business. Started Oakmont Creative while I was in college still. Once I made the switch to business, I just hit the books heavy. Was never a big reader until then. And then also did my own research on the side too. So like you're going to marketing classes and you're like, all this stuff is just regurgitated stuff that I'm already learning. So ended up dropping out of school since I started my business in college, and it's just been plan A the whole way. There's no real plan B. So that's kind of just where I've been most of the time. And it's been 7 years. So still at it. Yeah, that's
Yeah, and
just,
I respect the hell out of your story because I can't imagine how many people kind of shamed you for dropping out, right? To like do your own thing. I can
yeah.
only imagine. But I'm just curious, like, what was that light bulb in the head moment that inspired you to just be like, I'm doing my business thing. I'm done with this traditional education route.
Uh, That's a good question. I don't really know when that light bulb clicked, but I think it was in one of my business classes at Iowa State. One of the professors owned her own business. I actually ended up sitting down with her to talk about a product that I kind of made and was thinking about patenting. And she was just saying, like, you should just go the business route, like, do your own thing. Um, we didn't obviously talk about whether I should like finish school or not, but that was just something I always had in my mind. I wasn't ever good in school. Uh, More so like the creative aspect was more I just wanted to do. I just wanted to get like my hands dirty on stuff, and being in a classroom and just being lectured to was just not my thing. So grades kind of fell, but whenever it came to business and marketing and just that all in general was more where I was putting my focus on. So I would sometimes skip class and it's just be more like I'm going to do my own research. I'm going to start let's focus on my own business. So I would say honestly my second or third year into college is when the light bulb clicked. It's like, I don't want to work for anybody. Like, I don't want to work for the man. I just want to make my own money. And that was also when I guess the so and so like entrepreneur kick in the industry really came about. Like, Grant Cardone was a big influence. Jordan Belfort was a big influence. We're talking like 2016, 2017. So the whole digital age really started to like come around, and it was definitely a big influence on me. So yeah, that was, I would say, the knowing that I could make my own money and not have to worry about somebody else to do that was more so the kicker of, okay, let's just rip the band-aid off and go for it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that makes sense. So I'm curious about Oakmont Creative, right? So there's a
Yep.
million different marketing agencies out here, as we always like to chat about off scene. What separates Oakmont Creative from every other agency out there? Like, what do you specialize in that you're better at than everyone else?
I wouldn't say I am overly special compared to anybody else. I just like to bring a transparent and authentic feel. Like, I'm not someone who talks shop a lot. I would rather just build a connection and actually make a friend or a relationship out of anything. So whenever I'm at a networking event, I hardly ever talk business, talk shop, just because like it's not really my thing. I really connect well with people. So I I'm in the essentially in the business of like B2B, but I always tell myself like I think I would kill it in the B2C industry just because I connect so well with people and can build relationships, and that's more what it's about with me. So my turnover rate for clients is so low just because like I really focus and put all my effort into that client for as long as they need. And yeah, and I don't need hundreds and thousands of clients. I just need the select few that honestly I can just have that relationship with and continue. And uh, yeah, some of my longest clients I've been with since day one. So I think it's just a game of building relationships, and that's kind of what I'm good at. And it's not about a quick sell or a quick buck for me. So yeah, being transparent, like if there's any way I can save them $1, especially if I'm working with small businesses or startups, that's definitely gonna like just help me as a person, help them. So that's I would say what separates me uh, as a business owner
Yeah,
and from the
yeah,
Oakmont Creative
absolutely.
standpoint.
That makes sense. I guess the question I was kind of tailoring more towards like actual like marketing services. Like, are you better
Yep.
at graphic design? Are you better at
Yep.
websites? Like, what are those
Yep.
specialties?
So definitely the creative aspect. Whenever I did first start in the marketing scene, I tried to do more analytical stuff, and I'm just like a right brain sided like thinker. I'm the creative thinker. The logical numbers, all that stuff is just I tried it. I tried it so many different things within the I guess the marketing and business space that the creative aspect was more so my thing. So obviously graphic design was big into it. Web design is our main kicker right now. Um, Even like strategy and especially social media too, because it all just ties into one. So you need creative in every single aspect of business and marketing. So the creative aspect, being able to think, I would say like my best trait or skill is thinking, coming up with ideas, and then executing those through more so a physical or digital design. So that's where most of the brunt of our work is done is the creative and digital aspect as far as web design, social media, graphic design. Yeah.
Perfect. So let's talk about your personal brand now. I know historically you did a lot of UGC content in the fitness and wellness space, and you've had sponsorships and partnerships in
Yep.
that realm. Talk about like your journey right now creating as a content creator. Like, what's your ultimate goal as a UGC content creator?
Yeah. So it's more so just building the personal brand. It actually started back whenever I was getting into marketing and business. I hit social media heavy in 2016, 2017. Really decided to just build my social, which it was just Instagram at the time. That's all I focused on, and fitness was big into it. And I remember getting a random email, which was kind of sketchy about, hey, we will pay you like $200 to just go post a photo of this or whatever it may be. And that was honestly just like the snowball effect from there is I don't know how I got in these marketing systems, like platforms or whatnot. Maybe it was just like the luck of the draw, but since then it just kind of snowball effect. And I remember getting my first big one with Bang Energy when they were first on the scene, like 2016, 2017. And that's when I started to get more into like video skits as well, which is way before the whole TikTok thing blew up. So we were doing video skits, the whole influencer deal. And yeah, so that was pretty much my first big one. And I did that on and off. And then TikTok came around 2020 during COVID, like anybody else got on TikTok. I or had my first account, and then I just kind of got away from it. And then I decided like, okay, let's build a fitness TikTok account. And then I did that towards the end of 2020, and that ended up going really well. It blew up pretty quick. That's when I started to really get into the whole paid sponsor, like I say, with quotations, the influencer, which I hate that term. It's super cringy to me.
I do
Um,
too.
yeah, so I really got into that. Uh, just working with a ton of brands, local. So Casey's was one of my first big ones. Um, GNC, obviously within the fitness space. I worked with a ton of small businesses, um, I guess small startups and brands. So that was nice because to me, like you can work with all these big corporate businesses, but it's the small ones that really are like, oh, there's people out here that can create dope products and whatever it may be, and I'm able to like represent them. So, golf is one of my big hobbies, and there's so many big like golf corporations that just make your corporate style stuff, but then you got these smaller brands that are like, whoa, they can actually design cool stuff that really pushes the boundaries for whether what like you can wear on the course or like intermingling that golf classical look with like the cultural like fashion style too. So being able to work with all these types of businesses from big to small is really where I guess I've transitioned into. So I was doing a lot of the brand promotional sponsors, and then my Facebook ended up getting hacked in the winter of like 2020, or yeah, the winter of 2020. And because my Instagram was connected to my Facebook, my Instagram went down, and then I had to restart that from scratch. And that was really downfall of me just posting on social. It was like, how am I going to get back from this? So I ended up taking a break, and it was, I think, the end of 2023. So just last year, I really wanted to get back into the social media thing. And I know it's going to take a long time for me to do that just because it's a game of just being consistent with it. So in the meantime, I was like, what else can I do? And I heard about user generated content. So, which essentially is you just make content for businesses, you send it to them, and they post it on their own platform instead of me creating a video and then posting it on my platform. The pay is a little bit less, but on the bright side, I'm not spamming my social media with just like ads and ads, because that's a lot of what you see with just influencers in general, and it's just not authentic. And that's where like user generated content comes into play. Is people aren't, or these brands aren't wanting you to just like create an ad. They want you to showcase their product, but do it within like a trendy fashion, like what's trending on social media, what's trending on TikTok, whatever it may be. So being able to incorporate those videos and to essentially just a relationship with these brands, because then instead of just having like a sponsored post, like you're creating multiple pieces of content, which after a while, like it starts to get fun. You get to mingle with a lot of brands, and there's so many different brands that I've worked with in the past that were just startups, and which like now I look at them and like, whoa, like they're starting to blow up a little bit. So one example was Waggle Golf. I don't know if you know who Waggle Golf is. They're a golf company out
I've
of
heard of them. Yeah.
Minnesota. They have all the hats with like the animals and stuff on them. You'll see them at Shields a lot. I remember when they first just like reached into my DMs and sent me a couple of hats and a couple of polos, and I'm like, okay, like these are they're gonna start to compete with like Bad Birdie, because Bad Birdie was the only like hot golf brand that made like the crazy polos, but now this company's coming into play. So I remember working with them two and a half years ago, and then now look where they're at. They're in Shields, they're in everywhere. So it's like, okay, like they are obviously a great brand, a great product. They have something to offer. So being able to work with those brands when they first get in, like that could be someone I'm working with right now who's a little bit smaller. You never know what they're going to be within the next 1, 2, 3 years. So just from the personal branding standpoint, I want to continue to do the user generated content, continue to build my social to where potentially I can get back into doing some paid posts. It's just my social media right now just doesn't have the engagement that it needs to be to be beneficial for brands. And I know that as a person, so I'm not just going to be like, if someone offers to pay me so much for a post, like I'll probably say no, just because I want to make sure they can get that recognition and I guess the eyes they need, because I can't offer that right now. So that's where the user generation content comes into play. But from a personal brand standpoint, yeah, just keep on monetizing where I can. And that's the name of the game, is monetizing how you want to do it too. So another thing that I got into was like acting. So that's one of the bigger focuses that I'm doing right now too, is just diving into that sort of industry. I've had 2 commercial deals so far this year, and essentially I want to try to get into the film stuff, but that's a little ways away. I still got a lot of work to do before that happens. So it's yeah, finding ways on how to monetize your personal brand. And that's something that you do pretty well too, is with the whole affiliate marketing. If you can tackle that from a personal brand standpoint, that could be huge. So that's where I see myself building my personal brand, trying to focus more so on that and leveraging Oakmont to where I can hopefully make that automated before too long, to where I can just focus more on the personal brand stuff too. So that's where I picture the personal brand to go.
No, that's a good answer. Personal brand is the ultimate leverage for anything, man. You and I
Yep.
both know that. So I want to talk about one thing that you mentioned in that long answer you just had, where you talked about how your account got hacked. It was your Facebook and Instagram account got hacked.
Yep.
And I've mentioned, we've had this conversation offline before. Talk about kind of what that light bulb moment did in your head of maybe taking traffic away from algorithms versus owning traffic. So the whole rented traffic versus owned traffic conversation. I've had to deal with this from a censorship perspective. I've had to deal with it from hackings and like other things where, your channel gets shut down or the
Yep.
algorithm just doesn't favor your content anymore. Like I just feel like we're seeing such a shift right now of people that need to prioritize trying to go for algorithm rankings or algorithm traffic versus own traffic. I guess, what
Yep.
are your comments on that?
That's actually a really good point and question. So I just listened to a podcast yesterday. I think it's called The School of Greatness, and they had Chris Bumstead on. And I don't know if you know who Chris Bumstead is. He's 5-time Olympia Classic Physique champion. But he actually talked about how there's so many people who are just so unauthentic and they just try to be someone they're not. Yet for him, he was very authentic whenever it came to like expressing his emotions, especially from like a guy's perspective, because not a lot of guys do that. So he got a lot of connection with followers and people from there that are actually valued followers rather than just like posting or getting paid posts. That's essentially just these people are going to fall off and they're going to stop seeing your stuff, seeing your social media. So there's a fine line between value and just looking to grow your social media. Like obviously there's that line where people need to stay somewhat pretty much a straight line concept that Jordan Belfort talks about. So you don't want to veer too far one way over the next. So yeah, you just gotta honestly, it's a tough concept to talk about because it's always changing with the algorithms. Um, I don't think you need to honestly dive into that. You just got to make sure you be true and authentic to yourself and continue to post and keep that authentic, true picture that you're trying to portray to people. I know there's another podcast you talked to, another fitness girl, and she talked about like selling out, and selling out's huge when it comes to social media, especially.
Paige. Yeah,
Yeah,
Paige Michael.
yeah,
Yeah.
Paige. So selling out's a big thing, and I would be the first to say like I definitely did that with working with a couple brands. Was the when the dollar signs are there, like I might as well just do it and see what happens. But that's not going to create an authentic portrayal of like who you are as a person, especially when it comes to the personal branding, because now you're just faking it. And obviously they say fake it till you make it, but there's a certain extent to what that looks like. So yeah, I wouldn't say don't chase the algorithms, don't chase the followers, likes, whatever it may be. Be true to yourself, and the people who are actually like going to want to stay and going to actually get to know who you are, then they're going to be the ones that provide value back to you. Whether if you're owning a business, they'll probably be the ones to work with you, and that's where the whole personal branding comes into play with, and the whole business itself. Because where business is going, it's going to be based on like, do you have a personal brand? If it's a small business whose owner has a good personal brand, they're always posting, being transparent, and kind of showing behind the scenes views. Like people are going to work with them over another business or corporation that they're just trying to sell product and push product down your throat. So yeah, you just got to be authentic. Don't really chase the algorithms. You don't even have to like chase the trends. Just do your own thing. And yeah, you never know when or what could happen. Like I think of Sketch. I don't know if you've seen Sketch and who he is. He's one of the big, I guess, internet guys right now. But he just kind of popped off over the last 2 months, just doing his own thing, just kind of had some quirky little skit deals. And yeah, then he just gave a draft pick at the NFL draft last week. So it's pretty crazy in what you can do when you're just authentic and not really tracing anything.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I want to go on that same trend of authenticity and go into our next question here.
Yep.
Who are just a few marketers, content creators that you follow for inspiration? You mentioned a few at the beginning, towards the beginning of your career.
Yep.
But I listen to Andy Frisella a lot, right? I think you do too.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that me and everyone else respects about him is at the beginning of every single episode, he always says, I don't take money from ads. I don't want people paying me and tell me what I can or can't say. I was like,
yep.
That is the ultimate leverage right there. Like that's when you know that's like FU stuff when he says
Yep.
stuff like that. So who are some creators or marketers that you follow for inspiration?
Yeah, so I would say pretty much like you said, Andy Frisella, especially when he was first doing the MFCEO project, because driving to college, I mean, that's 2.5 hours. So I could bust out a couple of podcasts, and that's kind of chere the business aspect kind of came into play. So yeah, people like Andy Frisella, Tim Grover was another one, which they're not really in the marketing space, just more the business, but from the marketing space like standpoint, like obviously Gary Vee, he was a big one, especially in like the 2016, 2017, whenever his book Crushing It came out. So I read that, and then I ended up reading his other ones before that. So he's been a big success. Obviously, he's a big person with like social media, like push social media, just post whatever it may be. And he's another like authentic, just post what you're doing right now. Like, who cares what it is? And if it looks good or the quality's bad or whatever it may be, just do it. So he's been definitely a big inspiration with just the marketing business standpoint, and I guess with myself. But then also like Seth Godin, he's between his books, just as a marketing person in general. I see it like time and time again whenever someone, or if I'm driving and I see like a construction company or something with like a super weird name, like Blue Octopus or something, I'm like, oh, they probably read Purple Cow or something like that. Just like be creative. And so you can see that influence where it influences others. But I would say like Seth Godin's, obviously he's like one of the top marketing people of all time. He's written so many like marketing books, very successful. But yeah, those are two. Gary Vee and Seth Godin's probably the two marketing experts that I follow. And then just from a business standpoint, Andy Frisella, Hermosi, you know,
Alex
it's,
Hermosi.
yeah,
Yeah, I thought
it's,
you were gonna say him.
yeah, it's, I followed, I followed him. He kind of went down like the whole Gary Vee, just like post as much content as you possibly can. And then he's just now like going to switch it up too. So yeah, it, and it's not even like business people in general. Like, I flourish off just seeing people who are great at their craft, and it honestly like excites me and gets me motivated. So I follow like a lot of fashion people too, and just like seeing how they put certain like outfits or whatever it may be together. It's like, okay, those colors look pretty good. Let's see what I can do whenever it comes to like maybe a print design ad. Like, let's see what that looks like. Um, Anything like that too. So fitness in general, I could just go down the rabbit hole of like the creative aspect, because that's kind of how my mind works. I mean, that's how I started. I would say like the creative aspect got me into what bodybuilding. So like I started lifting and working out whenever I was a young age, and then like sneakers has always been something in my eye. Like I love cars, but yeah, I would say like you don't really have to have a business or marketing guru or expert to really spark like what you want to do in your life or whatever it may be. You just got to have like that one inspirational person or thing that just like catches your eye and be like, okay, that's kind of what I want to do now. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That makes sense too. And we follow a lot of the same people. So let's transition to AI now. Obviously, you know I like AI. I like to chat about AI with fellow entrepreneurs. So, how are you leveraging AI in your business right now, if at all? Are there any AI tools that you're using? Just talk about what you're doing with AI.
That's, I would say that's one area where I fall back compared to others. And honestly, I get all of my AI information from what you post on LinkedIn. Like pretty much everything that you post, I'm watching.
I
So
appreciate
I
that.
would say like you're definitely an AI expert that I follow. As far as what I use it for me, it'd be more so like content ideas. If I have like a sort of like a social media script I'm like kind of writing, like maybe AI can help me figure out what that next script is going to look like, or even like copy. So whenever I'm doing a website, whenever it comes to copy, I'll use like copy AI or even like Gemini or anything like that, just to help more so with like building it out. I'm not the most smart person whenever it comes to grammarly or grammar just in general or writing out content. So using leveraging AI for that. And then whenever it comes to like video stuff, like Opus is a big one whenever it comes to like cutting down long tail videos into short clips. So I've recommended that to a lot of my clients too. Uh, but yeah, like honestly, I haven't really dove into AI to where I need to. I know you and me have talked about a couple of like things like I wonder if AI can do this, and I've searched for a couple of things. I'll probably have to ask you about this off the podcast, but yeah, there's a couple AI things that I know I probably should be doing and using. It's just I haven't gotten to that point yet, so that's on the list for sure.
There's also a lot of noise. There's so much noise in the AI space too, and like I'm somewhat guilty of this on my YouTube channel, but I try to separate the noise versus like actual applications and things that you can use from not only a business but maybe even a personal standpoint.
Yep.
Trying to cover basic stuff too, because like, oh, new AI tool here or new LLM there, but it's like, okay, but like how is this going to impact my business? How is this going to move the needle and push me forward? But
Yep.
so yeah, to your point too, there's probably some more that you could be doing, but also there is so much noise in this space that honestly it's just overwhelming and
Yep.
dumb in my opinion. But are there any trends that you see happening this year in 2024? Like, an example of Sora, OpenAI Sora with AI video.
Yep.
What are some AI trends that I guess come to mind for you?
I would say that's the biggest one is what you just hit on was the AI video. Especially with the presidential election coming up and all that stuff. Like we're going to see so many of those deep fake type videos come up. So I would say, I wouldn't really technically say that's a trend, but just the AI video in general, whatever makes your time more efficient for business owners or whatever it may be, like instead of them having to hire a production company, and if they can just throw in a couple like prompts into like an AI video creator and then it creates a video for them, like a special ad or anything like that, I think that's going to be huge. I I think you would have a better understanding of this, like whenever you're creating a blog with like AI and you don't do any changes to it, like before too long, Google's going to start to notice that it was completely created with AI, and they're probably going to start to decrease its ranking. Like I don't know if that's going to be the same thing with video stuff too. So
They've already started doing that.
yeah, so I would say like video AI is going to be huge. I think that's going to be the next big thing. I think even Gary Vaynerchuk said like AI influencers come like 2030, it could even be like a big thing too. So you're not even going to have to hire actual person. It's just going to be someone that's on AI. But even like the AI music that I've
That's
heard,
crazy. Yeah.
yeah. So even with the AI music that I've heard, like people will say create a song that Drake would make and then make it sound just like Drake. And I don't know if you've seen clips like that too. Like that could be good, but also dangerous at the same time. So yeah, I would say the biggest trend that I see with AI is the video aspect of it, because we've already got I guess the physical content writing and generative AI that way, but now once you get into the actual like creative aspect and scene of it, that's huge.
Yeah, the images are pretty good right now too with
Yep.
Dolly and Firefly and all sorts of things. AI video is really interesting because I talked to Ryan Snod on this on I think it was my last episode or one of the previous ones, where I think AI video is so revolutionary because think about stock video that people use for stock video. Think about drone footage and
Yep.
how much of an investment it is to hire someone to do drone footage. Well, ethical or not, right?
Yep.
OpenAI is scraping a database of YouTube or wherever they're getting these video files from, and you could eventually do something like give me a cinematic drone video of sunset to sunrise of Madrid, Spain, or like
Yep.
insert the location or wherever. And theoretically, AI is going to be able to create that drone shot for you versus hiring $10,000 plus of someone that it would cost to use a drone. So
Yep.
I don't know, man. There's so much changing in the AI video space. I think people don't fully realize it.
Yeah. And that's actually something that you brought up about like all the stock images and videos and whatever. Whenever it comes to like building websites or anything like that, those stock images and videos get so exhausted, and people see those all the time, and they'll start to realize like, oh, this isn't authentic. Like this company is just doing the cheapest, easiest, quickest way for them to just like get their business going, whatever it may be. But in order to create like that authentic feel, you got to have something new and different. So I think that's where AI is going to definitely help with that factor, because yeah, if you need a drone shot, like obviously someone's not going to want to pay the upper hundreds, even to the thousands, just for one drone video. So if they can get, or if they can leverage AI to get that video for them, I mean, more power to them.
Yeah, it's crazy the way things are going. So let's transition to Marketing Quacks now. It is the Marketing Quacks podcast after all.
Yep.
Connor, I want to hear your thoughts. What are some marketing tricks and gimmicks that you have seen people do that you just despise?
Man, we can dive into the whole influencer aspect too. That's definitely, I think, something where it's just fake, and businesses are starting to realize that, and it's just the industry itself is going to more so. That's why it's transitioning more to like the user generated content right now. But yeah, the word influencer kind of gives me the ick. It's very cringy. Um, I don't really know where the industry is going to go as far as like the whole influencer concept. But if like a little kid's growing up right now and they're like, I want to be an influencer when I grow up, that's kind of a tough thing to like talk to them about, as like, okay, what are you going to influence? You might as well just like be your best self and do what you do, and then maybe before too long, like people will start to catch on and like actually be a fan of you. So it's like the Caitlin Clark effect. All she did was do what she did best and play basketball. And then look what happened. She pretty much influenced not only like the media and everything else, but all the girls that are growing up now that say like, oh, we can break boundaries, we can push those boundaries. And yeah, so I would say that. And then also just like not being genuine from a marketing standpoint. If you're selling something that you do not like care to know or have or know or like utilize, I think that's super gimmicky. And a rabbit hole we can also go down is like the whole MLM aspect of it too. So I would say like being genuine whenever it comes to marketing, because yeah, you could be a car salesman, and I mean everyone needs a car. Everyone pretty much needs a car salesman. But if you're actually caring about the customer that you're like taking care of, then it makes sense that yeah, I should be selling cars just because like I want to make sure like these people can get from point A to point B safely as possible, but also like build that relationship with them too. So I just don't want to have like another quick buck. Um, but yeah, being, I would say just being a good person, and you don't always get that whenever you're in the business space, especially marketing, because a lot of these companies, all they're out there is for a quick sell. So uh, pretty much just be authentic, be transparent. Transparency is not a big thing right now. I mean, that's kind of where business is starting to go. But yeah, I would say just be a good person, be authentic, and don't try any gimmicks or tricks to trick people. So, and that's like the ethical concept or the
There's
ethical.
so many gimmicks, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's so many gimmicks in the auto space. I actually just bought a new car last year, and like I looked up, I literally did like an hour of research to like look at the common gimmicks, and it's one's that Foursquare one where they always give you the. Have you seen this before?
I
Where they do
haven't.
like a Foursquare and they give you all these expenses. I don't know the specifics right now, but if you're entering the car market, look up just like gimmicks because there's so many gimmicks that people use. My
Yep.
favorite is SaaS, right? So I tried to cancel a web hosting software like a year ago. Oh my god, bro! Like they have these people trained to make the cancellation process as humanly difficult as possible. I'm just
Yep.
like, stop the. I literally wrote an article about them. I'm like, stop the gimmicks. You don't need my social security number. Just cancel my MF account. That's
Yep.
literally what I said. And
Yeah.
I'm so over the gimmicks, bro.
Yeah.
That's the inspiration for this podcast. But anyways, Connor, what are some final notes that you have for just the audience listening from everything that we've talked about here, which has all been valuable information?
Uh, from a marketing standpoint, so for me, it's more so like the creative standpoint, but also going into the creative and the business aspect is change of scenery is huge for me. So for me, I can't stand to work from home, even if I technically work from home, but I'm at a new coffee shop every single day, and that's how I get juices flowing. That's how I come get creativity, like where I'm at now. It's like a dope spot, has good music playing all the time. Like I said early before the podcast, I have free coffee, so or not free coffee, free refills. But having a change of scenery, one thing that I want to start doing is taking like a long weekend to a brand new city and just bellying up to a coffee shop and just working and seeing like experiencing the experience it is there in that culture, because that'll be able to help me from a business standpoint, but also personal brand, just a personal touch in general. So yeah, change of scenery. And then also from like a business standpoint, like utilize the tools you can. Like I'm not gonna sell. I'm not gonna push like the sell on whether it's like a new prospect or client or whatever it may be. If someone says like they've been doing a little bit of work on their own website, and like I check it out and it looks fine, like yo, just keep doing it. I'm not gonna sell my services to you just to like sell it. So like example is like Canva is a crazy great tool right now, and people don't need to have the Adobe experience to just create like any sort of graphics. Like yo, just buy the $15 a month like Canva, uh, and just go and just check it out, because like the opportunities and everything on there is endless. So um, if I can help a client from like especially like startups just save a quick buck wherever it may be, I'm not going to push them on it. So utilize the tools you can. Like obviously if time becomes like a factor, then yeah, you can hire me, but more than anything, like utilize what you can, do what you can, get the experience, so you actually like know whenever you hire somebody, you kind of have an understanding of like what they're doing and what they're talking about. So that's what that's
Yeah,
probably what I would, yeah, advise people to do.
yeah, that's for sure, and that's good advice. So, Connor, where can people find you online?
From a business and professional standpoint, LinkedIn is probably the best spot to be. See some of the new stuff that we're coming out with. Starting a nonprofit, so I'll be posting more stuff about that on there. And then from a personal standpoint, Instagram, TikTok, that's my two, I guess, personal, like behind the scenes, what you can see with me. Big into fitness, golf. I'm a big hobbyist, so you'll catch a lot of that stuff on there too. So yeah, those are pretty much all the spaces you can see. And I'm all around the Des Moines area networking. So if you catch me there, come say hi. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, also a proud member of the Loop DSM. I had to throw that in here as we cap off this
Oh,
episode.
yeah.
But Connor, thanks so much again for joining the show. And thanks again to everyone for listening to this episode of the Marketing Quacks podcast. Be sure to tune in again for the next episode.